Hey, what's going on everybody? I hope you're having a great week and a good day so far, and I'm happy to be back doing another video talking about the Mastermind GT by RJM Music Technology. In this video, we'll be going over how to set up your Mastermind GT to receive external commands from a DAW. Programs such as Pro Tools, Studio One, Ableton, and Logic may all be used to send MIDI commands to your Mastermind so that it may control the rest of your effects rig as well. A performer like myself takes advantage of a DAW by using the automation feature to essentially allow the Mastermind to be my mind. I find that the lesser thinking that you have to do on the job, the easier it is to perform. In my case, there may be songs that I perform on stage where I have to really concentrate on my guitar and vocal performances that I don't necessarily have the headroom available to worry about pressing some buttons on my GT. So what I like to do is send MIDI commands by automation from my DAW to the GT to then further command devices such as Axe FX 3 preset changes or scene changes from section to section within songs, and as well as initiating some changes with instant access buttons to bring up some looper channels for different pedals that I may want in different sections of a song. Another great way to take advantage of automation, perhaps you're an artist that performs on some bigger stages like festivals, stadiums, and arenas. There may be some moments where you'd like to interact with the crowd a little more. Maybe you're a guitar player and you're going to go out and play a solo and go up to the front of the walkway or something like that, but you don't want to have to go back and run in to change effects around, or maybe you need a whammy pedal to do some pitch shifting. We can allow automation to take care of all these things for us so that we can spend more time being with the people that love our music and create an even more epic moment. Now, before we begin setup, I would really like to mention that it means a lot for me to make this video because when I was starting to do workflows such as this, it was very hard for me to really learn about this stuff. In fact, it took me about almost 2 years to really get this all figured out. In my experience, there is not enough knowledge out there about how to set up workflows like this. The only people out there that I'm fully aware of that may know how to do some work like this are the ones that are on the major label level of touring. Or they might be some stage technicians that don't necessarily make themselves available to other people that are in bands. So I hope that you get a lot out of this video, and I would love to see knowledge about automation for effects changes become so much more common, especially on the local band level, because like I said earlier, if you can find a way to make your rig be your mind, it creates so much more possibility as a freer performer to have to make lesser decisions, and you can have more fun on stage. So the first step in this process is establishing the correct connection. All that we need for a DAW and a computer and a Mastermind to be able to communicate with each other is a simple USB cable. Specifically, you're going to need one that is a Type A to B connector. And on the rear panel of the Mastermind is an output for a Type B USB. So that's the end you'll be plugging into the GT, and then the Type A will go to your laptop. For those of you Apple users out there, no question you're going to need a USB-C to USB adapter, but it's no big deal because when it comes to MIDI data, you don't have to worry about any kind of communication issues going through an adapter. So now that we're connected, the first thing that we need to do is register our DAW as a device in the Mastermind GT, so that way it knows what it's taking commands from. So let's go ahead and enter the setup menu. We're going to go to Edit Devices and add a new device in an empty slot. Now, like many MIDI devices that RJM pre-MIDI maps for its devices, the DAW is something that you don't necessarily need to do. So we're just going to select generic. PC CC device. And now we may program some specific settings, such as the name. We can change this to DAW. Next up, let's establish a MIDI channel. Now you may use the number of your choice, but for here I'm going to set it to MIDI channel 5 because I know that for every device in my rig, I don't use number 5, so that channel is left open for communication between the GT and the DAW. The next thing we need to do is set the port to USB. We don't want to have it set to MIDI out because that is not where the communication between the GT and the computer is taking place. So having USB is very important. Otherwise, everything else on this page you can leave alone. On the next page, what we'll want to do is set the bank type to MSB, LSB. CC on preset we can turn off, and we can also set the send PC to the off position. Reason being is because in this case of working with DAW commands, we don't need any extra commands of like PCs or CCs going out for any reason. And that's it, we're good to go. Now the GT can successfully take commands from a DAW. The next step is registering the Mastermind GT as a device in your DAW. Doing this will now have created both parties in this method of communication here. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So the DAW that I'll be showing you how to do the setup with is Studio One. This is my primary DAW that I use for creativity on a daily basis. I realize that all of you may not be using the same DAW as me, but that's okay because I find that once you figure out how to initialize a device like this in one program, it's very easy to figure it out in the other. Let's begin by selecting Configure External Devices right here in the main menu, and we'll hit Add. Now when we scroll down, we're going to see that RJM is here, but that is in fact not by design from Studio One. That's my work, because I already have devices established here. So what we can do is, we'll set it up as a new instrument, and we'll type in the manufacturer as RJM Music Technology. And we will call the device MMGT-22. Next, let's establish where we are receiving MIDI information from and sending it to. So DAWs can deal with bidirectional data. We can not only send commands to the GT, but we can also control our DAWs with the GT, and that is something I'll be going over in another video. So as far as sending to, we'll select the Mastermind GT's input, and we'll be receiving from Mastermind GT's output. You can disregard those pop-ups. All it's saying is that this device is already in use. That's because I already have this set up as a device, so that's just my DAW warning me about that. That will not happen to you as long as it's a first time for you. In the setup menu of the GT, we selected channel 5 to be our MIDI channel, so that's what we'll do here. You can deselect one, and that is all you need to do. If this was a phone call between two devices, now we have both established phone lines between the Mastermind and the DAW, so now they can communicate with each other. So now that we have an established connection between the GT and the DAW, let me show you how to work a couple devices with automation. In order to make this happen, we need to initialize some additional devices within the GT and our DAW, just the same way that we made the connection between the DAW and the GT. Here's a good example that I can give you. Let's say that we'd like to use our whammy pedal at a certain part of the song without touching our GT. Let's go over to the buttons page. In this row we have some instant access buttons, and these 3 buttons represent whammy pedal presets. Let's go ahead and take a look. Right over here are the actions for this button. The first thing that we see is that it engages the pedal looper that it's connected to, so it goes through my guitar effects chain. And the other action that we have right here is the specific preset that we'd like to call up in that point of time. Now you're going to see that I have just one more action up top right here. And from left to right, it reads DAW DG5, as in Digitech Whammy 5, and then CC toggle number 2. What does this mean? So this means that we are using a CC toggle as a form of command, but now our device is not the whammy pedal or the looper, and it's also not the DAW device that we set up earlier in this video. It's a whole different thing now. This says DAW DG5. So let's go ahead and look at my device tab. I created another device right here called DAW DG5. So in order for a button to take commands from a DAW to be engaged or bypassed, it needs to be created as a device of its own. So you can do this by setting it up as a generic manufacturer, a PC and a CC device, and you may name it whatever you'd like. In this case, I'm calling it DAW DG5 because that's my way of identifying that this is meant for automation and it's for the whammy pedal. I set it to MIDI channel 6, and the MIDI port is still at USB because this device is technically internal with the Mastermind GT. So we don't need to set it to MIDI out. As for the rest of the settings, if you refer to what I have here, you'll be good to go. Just have your bank type as MSB and LSB, and have send PCs and sending CCs on preset change checked off. So now that we've had that set, let's go back into our DAW. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create an external device that will be the other side of the communication process for the whammy pedals automation. Okay, let's go to configure external devices. So what you would do is you would hit the add button and you would create it the same way as we did the GT. So here's my settings right here. I created it as another instrument. I called it the RJM MMGT DG5. Manufacturer still RJM, and named it as MMGT DG5. For the receive and send to fields, you can still use the Mastermind GT's output and inputs, and like how we set it to MIDI channel number 6 on the GT, we will do that here as well. So now when we hit the OK button, we now have the ability of engaging and bypassing a whammy pedal at any point during the song. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and open up a blank session and show you how to automate this. The first thing that we'll do is create a new MIDI channel in this session. So we'll go ahead and add a track, and I'm going to call this Mastermind GT-DG5, which is letting me know that we're specifically initiating a button action, engaging and bypassing the whammy pedal and the looper channel at the same time. We're going to change the type to instrument, change the count to 1, we don't need more than 1, and we'll keep it red since it's for the whammy pedal, why not? For the output, we can select an existing instrument and access this field, and we'll go ahead and look for the Mastermind DG5, and we know we're on the right one because it's channel 6 like we said before. Alright, so now we have our channel. The next thing we'll want to do is open up an automation lane by clicking edit. So what we can do is we just need to create one MIDI note trigger in the beginning so that we can create a whole lane for the duration of this song. So let's just hit the record button real quick, add a little C, bring this back to the very beginning, and we'll just leave this guy right here. As far as the settings on this little trigger, such as your velocity and stuff like that, pitch, that's completely irrelevant. We're not creating any kind of sounds here, so you can leave that alone. However, what we will do is click and drag to expand this track to as long as we need it. We will leave it at measure 113. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to add a feature of automation for the specific continuous controller that we need. So real quick, let's go back to the GT editor. So let's say that we want to call up the preset that allows us to use 1 octave up on the whammy pedal. What we can do in the top action for the button as a device, we need to enter a CC number that the DAW and the GT can work with in order for it to know that this is the action or the button that we want to use. This number can be whatever you'd like it. So in my case, since I'm going from left to right with these 3 presets, I naturally have the CC numbers following as 1, 2, and 3. So this button for 1 octave up has CC number 2. Let's go back to our DAW session. So let's go ahead and add an automation feature by selecting the 3 dots. And we will go ahead and select CC number 2, hit add, close. Now, for whatever reason, they just have it titled as breath controller, but that's the one we'll be using. So let's just give ourselves a little more breathing room here. Alright, great. So the way it works here now is, let's say that we want this to begin at measure 4. Right now we have the CC value at number 4. So if you look at the left-hand side here, this represents the off and on value, or in other words, the MIDI velocity value. Right now we have this first trigger at 0, which has the instant access button in the off position. So when we arrive to measure 4, we add an additional MIDI trigger to be at the maximum MIDI value here. So now when we go to hit play, watch. Alright, pretty cool. There you have it. That's all you need to do. If you refer to these instructions for any devices that you'd like to set up with automation, you'll be good to go. There are countless other instances and scenarios with different devices that I can go over, but like I said, if you go further with what I just went over, you shouldn't have a problem commanding anything that you're looking to get done. So in the future, when it comes to you setting up a MIDI device that you'd like to have automated with the GT, just bear in mind which MIDI channel you'd like to use it with. Make sure that you create a device in the Mastermind GT edit, or you can also do this on the actual menu on the GT itself. Create a button that you would like the DAW to send commands to, and then again, just make sure that you know which CC toggle number that you're going to work with, and you should be good to go. There's one more trick that I'd like to go over with you in this video, and if you're someone that's using a device like an Axe-Fx, Kemper, or a Helix, this one's for you. So if you're controlling your device with the Mastermind GT, the chances are that you are changing the presets by using the preset buttons on the GT. So let's say that you're playing a show and you would like to not have to change presets between songs manually. We can automate this as well. Achieving this is very simple. If you've been following along with this video step by step, then you already know how to set up the Mastermind GT as a device with the DAW. All we need to do now is create a MIDI channel of its own. So here's what we can do. Let's open up another channel, and this time we'll call it Mastermind GT PC because we will be dealing with program changes. We'll have the same kind of settings as before, only this time we'll change the color to green, because why not? As for the output, we're going to select Mastermind PC with channel 5. Okay, great. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because in order to access the presets from the Mastermind GT, we'll be sending program changes. So let's go ahead and hit the dots, select program change, and add. Great. Now we have the ability to automate program changes. So like what we did before, we'll just add a quick note to use as a trigger. We'll just hit record, hit a note, doesn't matter what velocity we have. Just put it at the very beginning, and we will stretch this track to measure 113. Oh, looks like the program change thing disappeared. Okay, that happens sometimes when you set up tracks, but that's okay. We'll just add it again. Alright, cool. So what's about to happen right now is we're about to send commands to Axe-Fx 3 specifically for preset changes, but this is initiated by the preset buttons in the Mastermind GT. So keep in mind, when you want to select which presets you're using, you're probably going to be adding one extra number up from what you have. It's just because of the way both systems have their numbers pre-mapped. For example, if we were using preset number 0 on the Axe-Fx, on the Mastermind, that'll read as preset number 1. Anyway, what I'm about to do here is, I'm just going to input a bunch of different MIDI values for program changes, and we're just going to watch the Axe-Fx 3 change a bunch of presets a bunch of times. So you can just see that this works. Just doing things in no particular order, just going all over the place. Now, since we're on the topic of Axe-Fx and presets, one thing to keep in mind is that you can't go higher than 128 for your presets, so if you would like to command any particular songs or presets in your device, you do have to be mindful that they do have to be within 0 to 128. I don't really think it's possible that you can go higher than that. If I am wrong, please go ahead in the comments and feel free to prove me wrong, because that is something I would love to be wronged about. Believe me. So anyway, that's good. Let's hit the play button and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, here we go. There you go. Nice. Excellent. Alright, so there you have it. Now, of course, there are many different instances and scenarios that I can go on and on with on MIDI devices and automating certain parameters. So if there are any other devices that you'd like to see me go full detail on with setting up for automation, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to get a video out and go more in depth. I'm not gonna lie, making this video was very challenging. I have never gone so in depth talking about this topic in a video before, so I was a little nervous, but I hope that after watching this video, you're just a little more confident with setting up automation in a DAW to control an external MIDI device. It really is incredible to me of what one may accomplish when you have access to the right knowledge on how to do this work. So if you made it through this video, good for you. I hope your head is not spinning as much as mine is right now, but we did it. So if you have any questions, and I'm sure that you will, just go ahead and leave it in the comments and I'll be happy to help you out. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because we have some really awesome videos coming up in the next few weeks. I'll be going over topics such as running the Mastermind GT with Ableton scenes and sessions, and how to set up some really more advanced workflows, so definitely keep an eye out for those. I can't wait for you to see them. On that note, have a great day everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.